There comes a moment in every person's life when silence becomes louder than words. When explanations, arguments, and justifications no longer hold meaning. When the strongest thing you can do is simply walk away. Not out of anger, not out of defeat, but out of peace. That's the power of walking away. Quiet silence speaks louder than reaction, because silence is not the absence of words, it's the presence of power. When you choose to stay silent instead of reacting, you're not surrendering, you're showing discipline. You're proving that you are in control of yourself, not controlled by emotions, anger, or the need to defend your worth. In a world where everyone wants to be heard, where people rush to prove points and win arguments, silence becomes a rare and powerful form of strength. It is a statement that says, I don't need to respond to everything that tries to disturb my peace. There's a quiet kind of confidence that comes from knowing you don't need to explain or justify yourself to anyone. That kind of peace can only come from someone who truly knows their value. When you react out of anger or ego, you give your power away. You let the other person dictate how you feel, how you act, and how much of your energy you waste. But when you remain silent, you reclaim that power. You're no longer responding to provoke or to please, you're responding to protect your energy. Silence creates mystery. It makes people wonder what you're thinking, how you're feeling, or why you didn't respond the way they expected. That uncertainty unsettles those who thrive on control or conflict. They expect chaos, but you give them calm. They expect words, but you give them quiet. That silence becomes the loudest message you could ever send. It says, you no longer have access to my peace. There's a kind of discipline in silence that many people will never master. Because it's easy to react, it's easy to shout back, to defend yourself, to prove someone wrong. But it takes true strength to look at a situation that's trying to provoke you and simply walk away without saying a word. That's not weakness, that's emotional intelligence. That's understanding that not every battle is worth fighting, not every opinion is worth addressing, and not every attack deserves your attention. Sometimes silence is the armor that shields you from unnecessary pain. It's how you tell the world that your time and your energy are sacred, and you will not waste them trying to be understood by those committed to misunderstanding you. There's also a healing power in silence. When you step back instead of reacting, you give yourself space to process. You stop feeding the fire. You stop giving power to the very thing that tried to upset you. You start to see the bigger picture. You begin to understand that reacting emotionally only ties you to the chaos longer. Silence is not suppression, it's reflection. It allows your thoughts to settle so your actions can come from wisdom, not impulse. It teaches patience, it teaches restraint. And it teaches you that peace is not something you find in the noise, it's something you create within yourself. In silence, you rise above the noise of opinions, judgments, and conflicts. You begin to operate from a place of clarity where your energy is no longer scattered by unnecessary reactions. You start to realize that silence is not emptiness. It's focus. It's choosing what truly deserves your voice and what doesn't. Because once you understand your worth, you stop feeling the need to prove it. You stop explaining yourself to those who are never listening to understand. You stop wasting words on situations that will never change. You start moving differently, quieter, calmer, but infinitely stronger. So when someone tries to pull you into drama or provoke you into reaction, remember this: silence is not the absence of power. It is the essence of it. The calmest person in the room always holds the most control. The one who can stay silent when others lose their composure has already won the battle without ever speaking a word. Silence speaks volumes, and those who truly understand its language never need to raise their voice to be heard. Walking away is self-respect, not defeat, because sometimes the strongest thing you can do is to stop fighting for what no longer values your presence. It's not about giving up. It's about recognizing your worth and refusing to settle for less than you deserve. People often misunderstand walking away as weakness, as if leaving means you couldn't handle the situation. But in truth, walking away quietly from a place of pain, disrespect, or chaos requires more strength than staying ever will. It means you've reached a point of understanding that peace is more important than proving a point, and dignity is worth more than attention. When you walk away, you send a message, not to others, but to yourself. You're saying, I choose myself. You're reminding your heart that it's okay to let go of what doesn't grow you, what drains you, or what tries to diminish your light. That act alone is powerful. It's an act of self-love disguised as distance. Because staying in situations where your value is overlooked slowly teaches you to doubt yourself. It eats away at your confidence. But the moment you walk away, you reclaim your self-respect. You remind yourself that you are not obligated to shrink or suffer just to be accepted. Walking away doesn't mean you didn't care. It doesn't mean you didn't try. It simply means you've done enough and you've realized your energy is sacred. You've realized that no amount of loyalty should cost you your peace. Sometimes the greatest form of love, both for yourself and others, is letting go. Because when you stay in places where you're not appreciated, you teach people that it's okay to treat you that way. But when you walk away, you show them that your silence has boundaries and your respect for yourself has limits. You teach them that you are not afraid to be alone if it means protecting your peace. Walking away is also an act of courage. It's easy to stay in what's familiar even when it hurts. It's easy to hold on hoping things will change. But it takes real bravery to say, this isn't serving me anymore, and step into the unknown. It's in that moment of walking away that you rediscover your strength. You learn that peace feels better than attention, that solitude feels better than forced connection, and that silence feels better than constant conflict. You begin to understand that self-respect means choosing what aligns with your growth, even when it's difficult, even when it's lonely. There's a quiet victory in walking away. It doesn't make headlines, and it doesn't need applause. It's a private triumph between you and your soul, because deep down you know you honored yourself. You chose peace over pain. You chose dignity over drama. You chose to love yourself enough to leave. That's not defeat, it's freedom. It's a declaration that your worth is not up for negotiation, that no one has the right to make you question it. So, when people misunderstand your silence or misinterpret your absence, let them. You don't owe anyone an explanation for prioritizing yourself. Walking away doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're wise enough to stop watering what no longer grows. It means you're mature enough to know that self-respect isn't found in chasing validation, but in valuing your own peace. It means you've realized that sometimes strength doesn't roar. It simply walks away, quietly, confidently, and with dignity intact. Peace is the ultimate power because it gives you control over the one thing that truly matters, yourself. When you master peace, you master presence. You no longer react to chaos, you respond with clarity. You no longer chase validation, you move with purpose. Peace doesn't mean life is perfect or problems don't exist. It means you've learned how to stay calm in the middle of the storm. It's the kind of strength that doesn't need to be loud to be strong, the kind of confidence that doesn't need to prove itself to be real. In a world addicted to noise, competition, and distraction, peace becomes your greatest advantage. It's what separates those who are constantly drained from those who are deeply grounded. People often think power comes from dominance, from being louder, tougher, or always winning arguments. But real power isn't about control over others, it's about control over yourself. The person who can stay calm when everything around them is falling apart is the one who truly holds power. Peace allows you to think clearly when others are driven by emotion. It allows you to choose your words with wisdom instead of reacting out of impulse. It allows you to see through the noise and focus on what actually matters. That kind of composure cannot be faked. It's built through self-awareness, patience, and discipline. When you choose peace, you stop being a puppet to chaos. You stop letting others dictate how you feel, what you say, or how you act. You begin to protect your energy like it's sacred, because it is. Not everything deserves your reaction, and not every situation requires your involvement. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is nothing at all. Just breathe, stay calm, and let things unfold without losing yourself in the process. Peace gives you perspective. It allows you to see beyond the momentary anger or disappointment. It teaches you that every storm passes, but your reaction can leave lasting damage if you're not careful. Peace also gives you emotional independence. When you have peace within, you no longer depend on people or situations to make you feel okay. You stop searching for external validation because you've already found stability within yourself. That kind of peace can't be taken away by rejection, criticism, or failure. It's not fragile, it's rooted in self-acceptance. You start to understand that peace doesn't come from controlling everything around you, but from learning to control your response to everything. It's not about escaping problems, but facing them with grace. The more you value peace, the less you tolerate chaos. You stop chasing things that disturb your soul. You stop engaging in battles that lead nowhere. You learn to walk away not out of weakness, but out of wisdom. Peace becomes your filter. It decides what you allow into your life and what you release. And once you've tasted true peace, drama starts to lose its appeal. You begin to crave quiet over chaos, solitude over noise, and balance over extremes. There's a silent power that radiates from people who are at peace. You can feel it when they enter a room. The calm energy, the steadiness, the quiet confidence that says, I don't need to prove anything. That kind of peace is magnetic. It draws the right people, opportunities, and energy toward you. Because peace is not just an emotion, it's a vibration. It attracts clarity, wisdom, and abundance. And once you operate from that space, life begins to shift. You stop reacting and start creating. You stop fighting for attention and start living with intention. Peace is the ultimate power because it makes you untouchable, not in arrogance, but in balance. Nothing external can disturb a mind that has mastered its own calm. Detachment is a form of freedom because it liberates you from the weight of things you were never meant to carry. It's not about not caring. It's about caring in a healthier way. Detachment means you stop clinging to what's beyond your control, stop forcing outcomes, and stop losing yourself trying to make everything perfect. It's the realization that peace comes from acceptance, not attachment. When you detach, you reclaim your energy from situations, people, and emotions that drain you. You stop depending on external validation to feel worthy. You stop letting the behavior of others dictate your mood. You learn to let life flow instead of trying to force it, and in that surrender, you discover the power of freedom. True detachment doesn't mean you stop feeling. It means you stop suffering unnecessarily. It's the calm understanding that not everything or everyone is meant to stay. People change, seasons shift, and sometimes the best way to protect your heart is to allow things to end gracefully. Detachment teaches you that holding on too tightly often creates pain. When you cling, you resist the natural rhythm of life, and that resistance leads to frustration. But when you let go, when you accept that everything has its time, you start to experience peace that's not dependent on circumstances. You begin to live with a quiet confidence that no matter what happens, you'll be okay. That is real freedom. Detachment also empowers you to love without losing yourself. It allows you to give your best without becoming consumed by outcomes. You start to see relationships differently. You can care deeply but still maintain your boundaries. You can love someone and still walk away when it's hurting you. You can support others without sacrificing your own peace. Detachment teaches you that love and freedom can coexist. It's not coldness, it's clarity. It's understanding that you are responsible for your emotions, not for how others respond to them. That awareness gives you control over your inner world, even when the outer world feels uncertain. When you practice detachment, you also free yourself from the pressure of perfection. You no longer chase things to fill emotional voids or prove your worth. You stop basing your happiness on conditions. I'll be happy when I get this, when they change, when life goes my way. Instead, you find contentment in the present moment. You stop living in anxiety about the future or regret about the past. You begin to exist in peace, knowing that everything that belongs to you will come and everything that leaves was never meant to stay. That mindset doesn't make you passive, it makes you powerful. Because now you're not controlled by fear or desperation, you're guided by trust. Detachment is freedom because it makes you emotionally independent. When you detach, you stop being a prisoner of people's opinions, mistakes, or expectations. You stop reacting to every disappointment and start observing life from a higher perspective. You realize that every loss, every ending, every unanswered question was part of your growth. Detachment doesn't disconnect you from life. It connects you to yourself. It's the art of holding everything gently without clinging. And when you master that art, nothing can break you because you no longer depend on external things to define your peace. You become centered, grounded, and free. That's the quiet power of detachment. It gives you back your soul, your clarity, and your strength to walk through life with open hands instead of clenched fists. Your absence will speak volumes because sometimes silence and distance say what words never can. When you stop showing up where you are unappreciated, your absence begins to echo louder than your presence ever did. People notice the void you leave behind, the energy that once filled the room, the support that once came easily, the consistency they took for granted. Absence is a powerful form of communication. It doesn't shout, it doesn't argue, it simply removes its energy and lets the silence reveal the truth. When you walk away quietly, you allow people to face the reality of what life looks like without your effort, your kindness, your presence. And often that realization hits harder than any confrontation ever could. Absence forces awareness. When you are always there, people become comfortable. They stop noticing the effort you make, the value you bring, or the peace you offer. But when you step back, when your calls stop, your messages fade, and your energy withdraws, people begin to understand what they lost. They begin to see that your presence wasn't ordinary, it was a privilege. Your absence becomes the mirror that reflects their actions. It teaches them that you are not there because you had to be, but because you chose to be. And once that choice is gone, they realize the difference between entitlement and appreciation. Walking away doesn't mean you wanted revenge or validation. It means you respected yourself enough to stop pouring into places that refuse to pour back. It's the quiet strength of knowing that sometimes the most powerful move is to leave the table when respect is no longer being served. Your absence becomes your boundary. It becomes your way of saying, I gave you my time, my energy, and my loyalty, but I will no longer give you access to my peace. That silence, that space, that decision to withdraw. It speaks a language that no argument can match. Because words can be twisted, but absence cannot. You cannot fake the feeling of loss when someone who truly mattered decides to leave. There's beauty in absence because it brings clarity. It separates who truly values you from who only values your presence. It exposes who notices your silence and who doesn't care that you've gone quiet. It shows who reaches out, who takes accountability, and who pretends nothing changed. Absence is a test that requires no words. It simply reveals. It reminds you that not everyone deserves unlimited access to your energy, and not every connection deserves to be maintained. Some people will only learn your worth when they can no longer feel your warmth, and that lesson isn't for you to teach. It's for them to discover. But the true power of absence isn't about making others miss you. It's about freeing yourself. When you remove yourself from situations that drain you, you give yourself room to heal, to breathe, to grow. You allow your soul to reset without the noise of constant disappointment. You stop chasing closure and start creating peace. And in that quiet distance, you realize something profound. You were never asking for too much, you were just giving it to the wrong people. Your absence gives you perspective. It reminds you of your value. It teaches you that you don't have to fight to be seen. Sometimes, disappearing is enough to be understood. So when the moment comes to walk away, do it gracefully. Leave quietly, without bitterness, without explanation. Let your absence speak for you. Because those who truly cared will notice. Those who took you for granted will remember, and those who never valued you will finally understand what they lost. In the end, your silence will echo longer than any goodbye, and your absence will speak volumes about the strength it took to choose yourself.